Why not?
Yeah.
I feel like I do better.
One time for the one time.
One time for the one time, and then we can do that.
All right, perfect. All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to episode 4 of the Hard Work is Undefeated podcast. So today we've got a special guest, and we're gonna discuss the topic of how to perform in JUCO. We're gonna go through a little bit of Coach's story. So I'm gonna introduce him first. We have Coach Cersei. I'm gonna let him introduce himself. He'll tell you a little bit about himself. He's gonna tell you some of his story. He too is a JUCO product. Ended up going Division I out of JUCO, and he made some great things happen there. So, Coach, I appreciate you coming on with me today. It's been a while in the making, trying to get this thing to happen. So,
So, Coach Cersei, right now I'm the current head coach at Romulus High School football. Also, the boys track coach at Romulus High School football. Played my, they call it amateur career at Romulus High School. 3-sport athlete, all-state in 2. All area in basketball, so pretty decent athlete in high school, pretty decent student. I ended up walking on at the University of Toledo as a preferred walk-on. We can go into that story later, but long story short, found out that UT wasn't for me, or I wasn't prepared for it at the time, however you want to look at it, and I had to make a decision. I could either go Division II. There were a couple of D2 schools in Michigan that I knew were interested in me while I was being recruited. But I kind of got caught up in that Division I hype. Gotta go D1, gotta go D1 or bust. So I decided that I needed to leave Toledo. One of my teammates, who was also leaving Toledo, he's from Atlanta. He went to Santa Monica College. And I want to say this is about a month after being at University of Toledo for a year. He went out to California, and he picked up the phone and called me and said, "Hey man, they got a spot out here for you. You would do well out here." And long story short, I ended up at Santa Monica College in California, which is a 2-year community college, or some folks call it a JC. So after playing for 2 years at Santa Monica College, also running track there, I ended up at Eastern Washington University, where I finished my college career and graduated from.
Okay. All right, so let's touch a little bit on your experience at the University of Toledo, because we coach, so we have a lot of kids talking about they want to go play Division I, and you said there were some things that you weren't quite ready for. Could you touch on a few of those things?
Most of the things that I wasn't ready for was I could have done a better job of just having a basic schedule. I think a lot of people we tend to think about working hard and using our bodies, but the basics go a long way. So something simple as having a bedtime affects your performance on the field and in the classroom. Another thing that I feel like I could have done better was reading. I feel like deep readers do well in life. They excel in a bunch of different things, but the ability to sit down with a chunk of material and read it from A to B, can take you to tremendous places. So those are 2 things I definitely feel like I could have. 2 simple things that I could have done better to help me in the Division I situation.
Right. Yeah, and that's how we connected. It was off reading books. I met Cersei off Instagram. Obviously, we're both from Romulus, but he's a few years older than I am. But we had some of the similar interests, and he posted a book, and I was constantly asking him about the books, and that's just how we connected. And it's kind of been history ever since. But so what exactly is a bounce back?
All right, so a bounce back is a player who has been either D3, D2, D1, NAIA, and they bounce back to a junior college. So that means that they have a previous college experience, and then they go back to junior college.
Okay.
Versus somebody entering from high school straight to junior college.
Okay. So what division, because we know there's obviously Division I, Division II, Division III, but they have those same divisions in junior college. What division was Santa Monica?
Santa Monica was a Division One school.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So I know we've talked about it a little bit. My junior college, we had scholarships, but you mentioned that Santa Monica didn't have scholarships. So what was that like, being from Michigan, going all the way out to California? And I remember you saying they didn't have dorms as well. So what was it like going out there, not having a scholarship and not being able to stay on campus?
So when you're in the moment and you're thinking about, my number one mission going to junior college was to get out. So when you're in the moment, what's that?
Business trip.
It was a business trip, so I wasn't really thinking about it. You know, all I was thinking about was, all right, yeah, we don't have a dorm or we don't have scholarships and all these things, but I saw the opportunity and I wanted to take advantage of the opportunity. But in hindsight, there's a lot of different things that come into play that you're not thinking about as a 18, 19-year-old kid, or you got some guys that come into junior college that are 25, 26, some maybe some upper 20s and 30s. Mm-hmm. You're not thinking about your living conditions. Like, your living conditions are very, very important. And just being a father too, that makes me think about it differently. But in the moment, I wasn't really thinking about it. I was just trying to get on the field and trying to play.
Makes sense.
Get some snaps, get some film, and just get out of there. Yeah, but yeah.
So while you were at Santa Monica, were there, because we know junior college is a roller coaster, were there like any major adjustments that you had to make while you were there? Like, what was the everyday life of Coach Cersei at Santa Monica Junior College?
Man, it's interesting because so some schools you go to in your freshman, especially freshman athletes, you have to stay on campus. All right. So when I was a freshman at Toledo, they made us stay in the dorms. And the dorm was, you could literally take a rock and throw it to the stadium. So when you had to show up for workouts, you could literally walk down the path and you were there for workouts. The stadium was right down the street. All the classes were really close. It was really convenient. Mm-hmm. Everything is right there for you. And again, it's one of those things, in the moment, you don't appreciate it. Right. So one of the major adjustments that happened when I went to Santa Monica was, I didn't have a car. I did not have a car. So I moved across the country, sold my car, and had that money to, just kind of live off of. So didn't have a car. I had to take a bus on a good day, it was a 30 to 40 minute ride. On a bad day, with LA traffic, is about an hour and a half ride. So having to take the bus to school, to practice, to and from, that was a major adjustment.
Right. Yeah. Right. I thought me driving 30 miles, but being on the bus, at least I had my car. But so
I never rode the bus before too.
Oh, public transportation?
No, because in Michigan, there is really no public transportation. Yeah. We got the smart bus, but in Los Angeles, in Los Angeles, you can get around by a train. You can, and the bus will take you everywhere in Los Angeles. In most places, West Coast, you can get around with public transportation. A lot of people don't even have cars.
Let's touch on what it was like. You said you also ran track at Santa Monica. How did that come about? Did they recruit you to play track? How did that come about?
No, actually I had a couple teammates kind of encouraged me to run track, but man, the rotation was so competitive in junior college. So when I got there, I was a bounce back, and I went in with some kind of expectations, with some kind of entitlement. Mm-hmm. Like, hey, I'm gonna get a spot in junior college, and especially in California, everybody's fast. Even if you don't think guys are fast, they can move. Body types really don't matter. It just seemed like everybody was fast in California. So that's one thing that kind of balanced me out. We had guys that were tall. We had guys that were short and quick. I just really wanted to get in the rotation. So basically, I couldn't get in that rotation, and they did not want me to change to defense. So I'm just one of those guys, man. Like, I gotta contribute, and I didn't feel like that wasn't the conversation that I had coming into junior college with the coach that brought me in. So I decided to focus on my grades for the remainder of that season. I want to say I played like 5 or 6 games. Focus on my grades for the remainder of the season, and then I immediately started with all-season track workouts. And it doesn't seem like it was ideal, but I feel like it was one of the biggest decisions that I ever made because I feel like I got faster. I had an opportunity to work with an Olympian, like historic monumental figure. I didn't even know who he was at first. Tommy Smith. I know him as Coach Smith. But again, what was it? 68 Olympics. He placed. I want to say he placed first, and his teammate placed third, and they both held the fist up at the Olympics. But I had an opportunity to work with him and fix so many different things as far as like my form and technique. But yeah, just trying to figure it out. Just trying to get better. I felt like I was just trying to constantly better myself, and that was like the next logical step to me was to go get faster.
Okay, so is he one of the reasons you started to coach track here in Romulus now?
Definitely, absolutely. Just that learning experience. Again, I had a great experience in high school for track. Romulus track was, I guess we were in our prime during that time, so we were really good during that time. But after having that college experience too with somebody who was just, you wouldn't even know who he was just because of how humble he was and how it was. You could tell it was servant leadership, man. The dude, he just served. He treated us like we were his kids, and you know, you got 19 all the way up to 25-year-old guys. So yeah, I definitely wanted to emulate that or model that behavior, man.
Okay. Yeah. So a lot of times in JUCO, I've personally seen a lot of guys get caught up with the whole credit thing and not knowing how many credits would transfer to this school. Some kids are told not to get a degree. Some kids are told just to get a certain amount of credits. Some kids are told to get a degree. So what route did you take when you were in junior college? Because I personally got my associate's degree just so I could transfer to any school that I wanted to.
Right. So once I left University of Toledo, I was in a situation where I had to get my grade point average up, and I also had to graduate. So it didn't really matter how many credits I had, but I had to graduate to be able to go back to a 4-year university because I was a bounce back. Yeah. So.
Okay. So did you have any counselors or advisors to lean on at the time? Because I had a lady named Mary Kehoe who kind of walked me through the process. I told her exactly what I wanted, and I think that was the thing that helped me. I knew exactly what I wanted. I walked in her office one day. I said, I want to go play Division I. She said, well, if you want to do that, you need to do this, 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 and this. Was there anybody like that at Santa Monica for you?
Yeah, definitely. And a lot of guys have a bad experience with their coaches being their counselors. But again, I was fortunate to have Coach Taylor. And Coach Taylor was the counselor for the football team. And he basically, I told him what I wanted to do. And he literally handpicked my schedule. He told me to take specific teachers that were, I don't want to call them athlete friendly, but they were, like they understood our schedule.
Right.
And they were expecting us, man. Like, there's nothing like having teachers and a coach or a counselor to like know exactly what you need to do to get out of there. So Coach Smith, it was our counselor and our coach.
Okay, that's dope. That's dope. So this last part I want to touch on is a lot of kids, they have, sometimes I feel, unrealistic expectations to just go to JUCO and think they're going to go straight out and go play Division I or go play Division II, and they don't necessarily know the things that they have to do to perform, and especially at a high level to be able to go from a junior college athlete to make it to that Division I level. Could you touch a bit on the performance side, on like the things you had to do personally? I remember you saying you had to make like all conference.
Well, again, I can only speak from my experience. I think the thing that, let's say, got me out per se was I just wanted to contribute to a team. I didn't really care about what position I was in or if I was a starter or whatever it may be. I just really cared about being productive and making positive plays on the field. and also just handling my business in the classroom. Like
Right.
I wasn't a liability when grade checks came up. I just know I was good, or a couple teammates were good, and we could focus on playing football.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't really have to, we didn't have to figure things out. You weren't sweating and all that stuff. So, but man, just making positive plays, and just wanting to be on the field, man. Just want to be I keep coming back to that. Just making positive plays and contributing to a team,
Right.
not being a non-contributor. Because I feel like a lot of guys, they think they have the talent, but when they get the opportunity to step out on the field, they blow plays, they miss blocks. Man, some of the most simple things can get you on the court or on the field, man, and it's just hustle plays, man. Like, can you block? Being a great blocker will get you on the field.
Right.
So.
Okay, so for our last, I want to, what would, if you had 5 things that you could tell a kid coming this year into junior college to do so that they could make it out, what would those 5 things be?
All right, so if there was a kid right now going into junior college and they came, we talking like straight from high school?
Yep, straight out of high school.
Straight out of high school. You have, again, it depends on where you're going. So if California, I believe, has canceled their 2020 sports. So basically you get a free year. Like, you get a red shirt year without having to actually take a red shirt year. So you're going to get 2 years to get better, bigger, stronger, faster. And me sitting out for a season, most people would think of that as being negative, but I think it's what you do with the time. So right now, I would absolutely capitalize on the time. And I'm one of those people, I say, if there's, what month is it? It's August. If there's 30 days in August and you have your work days and rest days already planned out, you need to hit every single one of those days on the calendar. Like, yep, I worked out today. I hit the weights today. Or, yep, I did sprint work or speed and agility today. And just take advantage of the time for sure.
Right.
So the second thing that I believe that a student athlete can do is have your finances in order. Like, you need to go into college with a game plan. So if you're going into junior college, you need to know that whether you're going to be on scholarship or you're not going to be on scholarship, you need to know if you have to take out loans to live. Do you need to work? Can you be involved in work study? But just knowing what it's going to take financially to get you from point A to point B. Some guys only have to go to junior college for 1 year, so that's less of a financial burden if you plan on transferring out and getting a scholarship and all that stuff. But again, having a plan of financially what you're going to do. I would say the third thing, I wouldn't know exactly what classes that I need to take. You can never go wrong with general, what do they call them? General ed classes. The GE classes. Don't take classes that aren't necessary. Hopefully you get in a situation where somebody's helping you pick those classes. I don't think there's too many situations where guys are, getting to underground basket weaving and it doesn't translate.
I've seen a couple of cases of that, man.
Yeah, I've seen a couple cats try to, take the easy way out and not be able to get out. But so what's that, number 3?
Yep, that was number 3.
All right. So the fourth thing that I would do right now is I would figure out what all my physical weaknesses are. A lot of people avoid this, but if you're thinking about, so there's two different types of players to me. There's a player that's thinking about playing right now, and those players are like in a panic, in a frenzy right now, because they don't know what to do. All right, and then there's a second player who's thinking about playing for a long time. All right, hopefully, if you're thinking about playing for a long time, you're gonna address mobility issues. The most common football injury is the knee and the shoulder injury. So if you have mobility issues or you have strength issues and you don't address them, I promise you they're going to meet you again in college. Even if you don't have those issues, again, it's an overuse injury. Address flexibility or mobility issues, sleep patterns, any of those things, any like habits, eating habits. I would definitely go after those things right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
Number 5.
Number 5, I would, right now in 2020, if I was going to play junior college, I would find something to identify with outside of the sport. If you can find something to identify with outside of the sport, you build a broader spectrum of life. Again, sport is a great avenue to things. Again, if you're looking to play in the NBA or the NFL, that means you're looking to provide some kind of that's employment at the end of the day. I don't care how anybody says it, but you become a professional, but you're employed. So you're looking to become a great employee. But I would find something to identify with outside of sport because I feel like it makes the sport better. I personally saw a lot of guys who were only football players. They didn't do any extracurricular activities. They didn't talk to anybody outside of the sports circle, and it's hard for them to network right now in life because they don't know how to talk to people. They aren't willing to talk to people. And one thing about sports, especially college athletics, any football, basketball, baseball, those things are finite. They end at some point,
right.
You know. So again, I would just find out who I am and what I'm interested in right now, especially during the pandemic. You got plenty of time. At some point, you're gonna have to deal with yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so nutrition in junior college, like, so I know you're big into the nutrition component. Like, all right, so what could a junior college player survive off of and still be semi fueling their bodies to perform at the highest level?
I would, again, this is something I kind of had to deal with. We lived in a hotel. We didn't live in a dorm, so we couldn't really cook anything. And it was kind of illegal for us to cook, but we had like hot plates and microwaves, man. We was washing dishes in the sink. It was crazy. But I would personally, if I had the opportunity to do it again and I wanted to like take care of my body, I would buy some vitamins. I would buy a multivitamin just to have a constant flow of like minerals and nutrients in my body, and that's something that again I feel like kids waste $20 a week on Taco Bell. $20 will get you 30 days of nutrients if you get the right multivitamin. So I would get a multivitamin, and I would buy in bulk. I would buy stuff in bulk. So you could buy chicken breast. Even if it's like breaded chicken breast, we're not looking for you to be perfect or go on a diet. I would buy things that last. Chicken breast. I would buy, I would buy things like red potatoes. Red potatoes actually have really good nutrients in there. Like they fill you up. Brown rice, pasta, those types of things that are actually gonna fuel you.
Right.
Versus something like $5 hot and ready, where you're gonna get a huge surge of energy. It's an energy dense food, but it has no nutrients. That pizza diet, it sucks, and you won't be able to perform off of it very long.
Right.
It'll catch up to you at some point. But yeah, no, I would definitely shop in bulk. I would have a multivitamin. And the two meals that I will actually focus on the most is the meal that I have before practice or before a workout, and then the meal that I have after practice and after a workout.
Okay.
Yeah, those are the two most important meals.
So why do you say those two are the most important?
So again, in order for, again, I'm thinking 10 years out. I'm thinking about injuries. Most injuries happen when you're tired, you're being lackadaisical, or you're not properly fueled or rested. And then after, I want to maximize. So if I sit down and I read a book, I want to retain as much as I can from that book. If I work out for an hour, I want to maximize like the gains. I want to get faster. I want to get bigger. I want to get stronger.
Right.
I don't want it to go to waste. And you can do that. The fastest way is through nutrition.
Okay.
Nutrition and rest.
So let's talk about when you went back Division I. So you went to University of Eastern Washington.
I went Eastern Washington University.
So how was it? How was the transition from? I know I had a rough transition coming from JUCO, and like how the work was structured to when I went to university. It was like night and day for me. So I had some time where I had to catch up. So what was that like for you?
So my transition was, I think the toughest thing about transitioning from junior college to being back at a 4-year is the culture. So I was living in Los Angeles for 2 years, and I transferred back to a school that the nearest town was 20 minutes away. The Walmart was a 20-minute drive. The mall was a 30-minute drive. There was like one black barber in town versus Los Angeles. You can get your hair cut anywhere. So it was all cultural, man. Again, another tough transition is not socially, but like being in a competitive environment where guys have been lifting in the strength program for 3 or 4 years, and you come from JC where there's really no structure to the strength program, and you transfer in, and they've already been working in that program for 2, 3, 4 years, right. And that was tough, man. We had our first workout was 50 power cleans at 135. Now, right now, I can do that with no problem, but I died that day. My spirit is still at Eastern Washington from doing those 50 sets of power cleans. 50 sets of one at 135. And they were killing me. I was dying. I was holding on to the rack, dying, hanging on for my life. But yeah, those are the two toughest things for sure.
So how did your career end up going at Eastern Washington? How would you say it went?
You know what? In hindsight, when I was there and in the moment, and I think this is the biggest thing. I think it forced me to identify with something else outside of football. I started self-reflecting, and I started self-evaluating. There's nothing like watching film and being mindful is like watching film on yourself. But I felt like my career there during the time, it wasn't going how I wanted it to go. It didn't go how I wanted it to go. But in hindsight, I can look back and see like all of the jewels. Like that experience alone is worth millions of dollars. Right. It really is. But at the time, I was like, this is terrible. This is terrible. I picked the wrong school. I rolled the dice. I landed on the wrong school.
All right. Yeah. So all right. So this is literally my last one. What are 5 things you would tell an incoming freshman going to JC not to do? I got first one. Do not blow your refund check. If you get a refund check, I'm sorry. Talk to somebody who knows, who has been there and can tell you positive things to do with your refund check. Because I can tell you I was Ralph Lauren Polo down. Okay, all right, so.
What not to do? Number 2 thing, if I were a freshman going into junior college, I would not get involved in social media. I feel like I wouldn't watch somebody else's experience and compare it to mine. I would just grind it out. I would work on the things that make me better. I would focus on my strengths. I would make time to work on my weaknesses. But social media is deadly right now. And I feel like a lot of guys take their experience and they look at another kid that's in junior college or in high school and they're like, oh, I'm just as good as him, man. But yeah, comparison is the thief of joy, man. Just focus on you and focus on what you got to do.
Okay. So I would recommend, I didn't start reading until late, but I would recommend, I have one book recommendation. If you really want to get out of JC, I would recommend Tim Grover's Relentless. This book is a mindset changer, and I advocate for the book. I tell anybody who I work with to read the book because it's that powerful. So give me another one another don't do while in JC.
Don't look too far in the future. Don't set your plans and set your intentions, but soak up everything in the moment. They say kids between the ages of like 0 and 8, they absorb everything because they have to pay attention to everything. Everything is important. So if you're in high school transitioning into JC, everything is important. Don't ignore anything. Getting your transcripts is very important. How you get there is important. Is somebody dropping you off? Are your parents dropping you off? Or is the coach coming to get you? Do you got to take a plane, train, bus, or plane? All of those things are super important, and they're important to your story. Not just getting the college experience, or not just having the opportunity to go and play D1. I think everything is essential and important, man. So don't look too far in the future. Don't discount any of your experience. If you gotta go to JC, you better look at that as a blessing. I don't know what you believe in, but look at it as something divine, and that's where you're supposed to be, not as something that is like bad for you. So, or I'm in JC because I'm bad, or I was a bad student, or I'm in JC because I didn't get along with my coaches. Just always look at the positive. So don't look too far forward, and don't look at it as something that's negative.
All right, so one more thing before we get out here. Give me one more thing not to do while in JC. If you could tell your sons this one thing, if they had to go to JC, one thing not to do while in JC, give it to me.
One thing, if I could give them one jewel, what would that be? One thing not to do, I would say, don't give up. Don't give up. I feel like a lot of people give up. Like, don't quit. It's really competitive. I feel like junior college is more competitive than the Division I or the university level. So I would say don't give up. Things happen. People drop the ball. People break their legs. People miss class. People die. But just be ready. Be in the mix, man. Be in the mix. To always be right there. If this guy is the number one guy, and you're number 2, 3, 4, whatever, you better be right there. You better be right there and be ready for your opportunity. Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Man, that's extremely powerful. I appreciate you coming on today. Hey, we got some great content for the kids. We're going to get this out, and we're going to get it to everybody. So remember, again, I appreciate you, man. Remember, hard work is undefeated.